The world that you take to be so real and the person that you appear to be inside of it is an illusion. Today's video will help you see that much more clearly, experientially, and therefore it will help you to stop taking life so seriously. Stop being so lost in worry, anxiety, fear of the future. I will begin today's talk by sharing with you a very funny story from the teachings of Swami Vivekananda. And then we will talk about the key lessons from that story because it is funny, but at the same time, it is so revealing of the nature of our experience and our spiritual journey. And then we will also, at the end, do a meditation where we will apply those lessons and also talk about how to apply those lessons consistently in our day to day lives. So I hope you enjoyed the talk. Here it goes. So, once upon a time, Indra was, as usual, flying through the sky, seated on his heavenly chariot. As he was surveying the earth, he caught sight of a few domesticated pigs wallowing in human excreta. Some of them were feeding upon it. Indra was nauseated with revulsion upon having beheld the sight. He asked Narada, who was by his side, why the pigs could not be reformed and taught to behave better. Narada replied that it was in the determined nature of a pig to behave so. Indra, however, was not convinced. He asked, do you mean then to say that if I were to take birth as a pig, I would behave like this? Narada merely smiled and did not say anything. However, not liking the mischievous glint in Narada's eyes when that smile was in attendance upon his lips, Indra said, very well, I shall demonstrate to you my greatness. Presently, I am going to transform into a pig, and you shall see for yourself how elegantly dignified my behavior shall be. Narada tried to dissuade him, but could not succeed in trying to stop him. Indra descended on the earth and asked Narada to see for himself what was going to happen. Indra was now in the shape of a hefty pig. He went here and there and tried to keep a distance from the other pigs roaming about the region, which were spattered with human ordure whilst remaining engrossed in the act of consuming it with relish. Indra felt the experience of being a pig to be so relaxing that he dismissed the chariot and told Narada that he would like to stay in this form for a few more hours. Laughing, since he guessed what was about to happen, Narada bade Indra farewell and departed to his own realm. Indra was now captivated by the sight of a female pig, which was covered with excreta all over. He tried to make love to the pig, but she would not consent to being approached because he looked and smelled different from the other pigs. Indra was wondering what to do. A few hours passed, and he felt hungry and absent-mindedly chewed at something that was lying near his feet. After swallowing it with relish, the thought dimly occurred to him that he had just consumed a particularly foul-smelling turd. Vaguely, he recollected that the act of pigs consuming excreta was something he had once borne an aversion to. Now that he was smeared with excreta, the female pig, finding him an acclimatized sight, was more interested in reciprocating his lustful advances. The pigs made passionate love to each other, and they happily rolled about the slushy ground in the frenzied ecstasy of coital exhilaration, covered all over with the feces of humans and animals. In the days of frolicsome, aggressive lovemaking that followed, Indra had completely forgotten who he was. Soon the she-pig was pregnant, and a lot of baby pigs were born, and the couple was very happy. Then some gods saw his unfortunate situation and came to him and told him, "You are the king of gods. You have all the gods under your command. Why are you here?" But Indra said, "Never mind. I am all right here. I do not care for heaven while I have this sow and these little pigs." The poor gods were at their wits' end. After a time, they decided to slay all the baby pigs one after another. When all were dead, Indra began to weep and mourn. Then the gods ripped his pig body open and he came out of it. He began to laugh when he realized what a hideous, nightmarish experience he had had. He, the king of gods, to have become a pig and to have deluded himself into believing that that pig life was the only life. And not only that, but also have wanted the whole universe to come into the pig life. So, what is the moral of this story? The Purusha, which is pure consciousness, when it identifies itself with Prakriti, the material world, forgets that it is pure and infinite. The Purusha does not love, it is love itself. It does not exist, it is existence itself. It does not know, it is knowledge itself. It is a mistake to say the Atma, which is the self, loves, exists, or knows. Love, existence, and knowledge are not the qualities of the Purusha, but its essence. When the Purusha associates with Prakriti, the resultant ego is characterized by the appearance of having become so degenerate that if you approach it to communicate to it, you are not a pig, your true nature is one of infinite and eternal glory, it begins to aggressively squeal and bite. I felt it was a funny yet very revealing story about the nature of what's going on here and the nature of being a person. So, a few of my greatest takeaways from this. Number one, you are not what you appear to be. Yes, we are so convinced that, oh, I am this person and I am living in this world and this is what life is. Oh, I go to work, I spend time with family. Like, these are the things that are valuable and whatnot. This is what life is. This is reality. But this is just what life appears to be. This is just a form that life takes on, that life limits itself to one sort of way of being. Be completely loose in your definition of reality and open to the possibility that life as you know it here and now is not really real. We don't need to create a belief about what is real, but we simply can at least let go of attachment to needing our belief about life to be what is true. Being open to the possibility that I'm not merely this person, that this person is not that important, that life as you know it is not that important. So this brings us to the second thing. Relax. Stop taking life so seriously. The destiny of the body and mind are carrying this life journey, right? It is in the nature of the pig to act and live a pig life. It is in the nature of a person to act as and live this personal life. And even within being a person, there's infinite possibilities. You know, all of us are so different and live such different lives on the personal level. Relax. Stop taking it so seriously. You are not the doer. Stop being so afraid, anxious, attached. You're only the witness to this story unfolding. Ultimately, you're not deciding anything. You're not doing anything because you are not the body that is doing. You are not the mind that is deciding. You are just not a person whatsoever. This is just a story that is appearing, happening, arising, passing. This world has no existence. Don't have to believe that, just be open to that possibility that life as you know it is merely a dream that actually never exists. It only appears to. It's not even that it actually exists for a moment. No, it just has no existence. It only appears to exist, like the dream that you had last night. It never really was. It only appeared to be. So you are only the witness. You are not really all this stuff. What actually happens here doesn't really matter. So relax. Let it happen. Enjoy problems too. It's in the nature of being a person to experience challenges and problems and suffering. Let that happen. It doesn't need to be perfected. Solve problems. That's also part of being a person. But you know, just relax. So that brings us to third thing. Anger, resentment, attachment, resistance, all that egoic stuff, they only fuel our identification to the illusion. Therefore, let go. That's why the sages, the teachers invite us to practice non attachment, acceptance, never fighting against what's happening, never clinging. The more seriously we take what's happening and the more we take ourselves to be the doer, the more strongly we are attached to this whole appearance and what must happen and must not happen in it, the more this will appear to be real. You give it reality. You impart your own reality to it out of ignorance of your own true nature. The great teachers tell us, wake up, let go, be only its witness, know yourself instead of trying to control events. Next point. Suffering is not to be resisted either. Suffering wakes you up. Just like in the story, how when the gods were finally done with letting Indra fool himself into being a pig and being so attached to the pig life, they killed all his family and they eventually killed him too. From the personal perspective, we see the suffering going on in the world and all that, and in our own life, and we, because it's so real, we say, oh my God, this shouldn't be happening and that shouldn't be happening. And this, it's all a limited point of view. From the higher perspective, it doesn't matter. So forget about other people suffering. At least start with your own. Don't resist your own suffering. All the problems and challenges and suffering that have been given to you are there to wake you up from attachment to this dream. Only suffering has made us go on to the spiritual path. And just being on the spiritual path doesn't mean you won't experience any more suffering, or that experiencing suffering is an obstacle to what you are trying to achieve spiritually. It is all part of it, not to be resisted, but actually to be a catalyst for further curiosity, more intense seeking of truth, an awakener to our true nature beyond this personal life. And lastly, the last point, meditate every single day. Stop running away from silence. What silence really is you letting go of being a person for a few moments. That's why we resist it so much. Just like when the gods told Indra that you are the king of gods. Why? What are you doing here? Living this pig life. But he was just so lost in it and so attached to it. It's like illusion fights for illusion. Illusion wants to keep illusion going. So that's why you can spend a whole lifetime running away from silence. That's why here in our school, the main emphasis is meditation. Meditation is that window every single day where we let go of being a person. We put down the personal costume. We unmask ourselves, our form, and rest as formless, definitionless being. So meditate every single day, the sit down practice, and throughout the day as often as we remember. And so that's also what we'll be doing in our session today. So please prepare yourself. We'll begin the meditation. As it said in the story, you are not something which exists, something which knows. You are existence itself. You are knowledge itself, which is why, in the style of our meditation, we quote unquote focus on existence itself, the felt sense of existence, the very knowing of knowing. So be here, be present, acknowledge your existence. Sacrifice thoughts of who you are as a person and the life you think you're living for a simple acknowledgement of existence, of being. You already are, with or without your acknowledgement. Simply acknowledge that you are. Be here without attributing your being to the body. to the mental image of the person you think you are. No matter what happens in the personal life, existence is always existence. Knowing is always knowing. Unchanged being. Start to know yourself as that. And don't take this life of change so seriously. Don't take the person to be your true identity. What happens in the personal life does not really matter. Let it go on as it must. Surrender. Stop giving your thoughts so much value, importance. Thoughts are designed to keep reinforcing the false reality of this world and the false identity of being a person. The fear of future. Don't give in. Sacrifice dwelling in thinking for awareness of being. Sacrifice resistance and attachment for allowance. Sacrifice seriousness and be lighthearted. Sacrifice wanting and needing and expecting for contentment. Sacrifice being a person for simply being. What is being a person? Constant thinking about me and my life, past and future, what I want and don't want, what I like and don't like. What is being? Simple noticing of existence, awareness of being aware. When you are just nonstop thinking, you are identified with Prakriti, the material world. When you are aware of being, wordlessly, thoughtlessly, you are Purusha, pure consciousness. Understand very deeply that all suffering is due to ignorance of Purusha, identification with Prakriti. Therefore, whenever you find suffering in your life, you know you need to relax. You need to let go of attachment. You need to let go of resistance. You need to surrender. Acknowledge your role as only the witness. There's nothing wrong with Purusha taking form as Prakriti, but the ego that results from that, the ignorance that results from that, brings suffering. There's nothing wrong with suffering itself, but suffering is here to, once again, wake up Purusha from its dream, which has become nightmarish. It's just the way of things. Every day when we sit to meditate, you let go of being a person. The life you think you're living does not matter. Who you are as a person does not matter. What happens to you does not matter. Whether you ever get what you want or not does not matter. You become dead to being a person. Experience the freedom of that. Unmask yourself. Return to being yourself. Not through anything fancy. but only through a simple noticing of your own existence, your own beingness, your own awareness. Ground yourself that there in that acknowledgement of being, awareness of being aware. Know the knowing. Know that knowing is. In this simple awareness of being, the ego is absent, meaning your thought about who you are, the life you think you're living, is absent. So keep visiting that absence of ego, where you are, but you are free of any concept about who you are. And then your job throughout the day is to remember this as frequently as possible and to not take life so seriously. You know, a great sign of spiritual progress when you're just content with what is, and you are completely okay with the possibility that you may never get what you want. When you come to accept even the possibility that something may be taken away from you or that a misfortune may come your way, when you are simply willing to experience whatever life sends. We don't need to wait for that to happen. We can start practicing that now. We have to embody it, being more and more willing to experience life as it is, knowing you're not ultimately the doer. You're not the body, you're not the mind. What happens doesn't really matter. You are only its witness. You let life happen as it must. Yes, you appear to be a person. Yes, you appear to be the thinker, the doer, the decider. But you're starting to know now that it's not really the case. You are awakening from the role that is being played. The less seriously you take the role, the more we graduate from it. Not taking it seriously doesn't mean not caring or becoming reckless. You'll see that if you do that, that will also actually only harm you. That will also only make the illusion appear more real. You handle everything with care, you do everything that needs to be done, you handle every responsibility, play the role you were given, while inwardly being content with what's coming, what's going, not being worried, not being anxious, not being attached. So, this is a simple recipe for spiritual growth. Okay, we can end here. Thanks for watching. Practice consistently. And if you need help, join our community down below. Thank you.